Our next presenter is Zohar Milman, COO at Tarsier Pharma.
Very problematic today. I apologize in advance for my voice. I just hope that it will allow me to finish the full 6 minutes. So good afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity to present. Here, my name is Zohar Milman. I'm Chief Operations Officer at Tarsier Pharma. Tarsier Pharma is developing dazdotuftide. It's a new chemical entity with a disruptive mechanism of action. Our focus is on developing new treatment for blinding ocular diseases, targeting a blockbuster potential for our lead program, TRS-01. Dazdotuftide is a multi-target immunomodulator, leading to a macrophage shift from inflammatory to anti-inflammatory state, or M1 to M2, inhibition of NF-kappa B cascade through toll-like receptor 4. It is also known to suppress the ACE2 receptor through to suppress the ACE2 receptor, and its affinity to neuropilin-1 receptor reduces VEGF activity. We are developing 2 products based on dazdotuftide: TRS-01 eye drops for treatment of non-infectious uveitis, anterior uveitis, and uveitic glaucoma, and TRS-02 formulated as intravitreal injections to the back of the eye for treatment of retinal blinding indications. Non-infectious uveitis, this is a chronic blinding recurrent inflammation of the eye, affecting mostly young adults and also kids. And the only approved treatment for the active disease is steroids. But despite available treatments, 2/3 of patients will end up with visual loss and 22% with legal blindness. And one of the main reasons is that steroids, topical steroids, while they are known to be effective in resolving the inflammation, they also lead in many of the patients to elevated IOP and have a rebound effect at the end of treatment. And the result, as we see here, is a vicious cycle, leading eventually to uveitic glaucoma that is considered the end stage of uveitis, with much higher risk for blindness. And we believe that we can break this vicious cycle. Therefore, our first target indication is uveitic glaucoma, with a patient population of approximately 120,000 people in the US. TRS-01, if approved, would become the first steroid-free approved treatment for this indication. And if we look ahead for a minute towards commercialization and what the market may look like for this drug, we like to refer to the case study of Tepezza as an appropriate comparison. Tepezza for thyroid eye disease reached blockbuster status shortly after its approval. And going back 3 years ago, before its launch, thyroid eye disease was an undertreated indication with not much hope for patients, just like uveitic glaucoma is today. In the 3 clinical trials conducted to date for TRS-01, it has been shown to be potent and safe in treating ocular inflammation. TRS-4Vision was a phase 3 trial, double-blind, randomized, active control, multi-center trial in patients with non-infectious uveitis, anterior uveitis, and uveitic glaucoma, and including pediatric patients of all age groups. 136 patients were randomized in this trial, 2-to-1 between TRS-01 and steroids, and the baseline characteristics were mostly balanced between the 2 groups. And this is what non-infectious uveitis looks like. In our trials, we randomized patients with moderate to intense inflammation, grades 2 or 3. And these are levels of inflammation that rarely resolve without treatment. And in this trial, TRS-01 has shown potent anti-inflammatory activity, with approximately half of the patients reaching total resolution of inflammation. And while steroids were better in this case, when looking 2 weeks post-treatment, a third of the patients in the steroid arm had an inflammation relapse. Pain is another important efficacy parameter in uveitis, was promptly resolved in the two groups. And TRS-01, not only it has shown to be potent in resolution of the inflammation, it also had a positive benefit-risk profile in terms of the IOP. IOP has shown to remain stable during treatment with TRS-01. None of the patients of the TRS-01 group had an increased risk for glaucoma or reached ocular hypertension, and that is compared to 13 and 20% in the steroid arm. So for the first time, elevated IOP and glaucoma are not inevitable outcomes of uveitis treatment, and we can break this vicious cycle. Thus, we conclude that the benefit-risk profile of TRS-01 supports its use as the first-line treatment for uveitic glaucoma, where steroids should be avoided. And based on these results, recently we received from the FDA what is called a Special Protocol Assessment, or SPA agreement. This is a unique process. It's a binding agreement in which we agreed with the FDA on our next steps. And the next step is repeating the same trial design, and where the exact same results as we had in the TRS-4 vision would lead to winning of the primary endpoint, since we agreed with the FDA on a new primary endpoint, and this is one that has already attained statistical significance in the TRS-4 vision trial, or previous trial. So to summarize, we are now gearing up towards a second phase 3 for TRS-01 in an attempt to address more than 70 years of lack of innovation in an indication with an unmet medical need. Our lead product has a blockbuster potential with an attractive commercialization strategy that we haven't discussed today due to time limitations, and is protected with a strong composition of matter patent until at least 2034. And we are now in a financing round to support our next steps for the two main programs. Thank you very much, and I'm happy to address any questions after the session.